Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Hall. Reed should be here momentarily. Shouldn't be too long now, but the Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. And speaking of, the title of this episode is The Big Cheese, as Washington is facing the New York Giants coming to town this weekend. So we thought we'd bring in big man himself, Mr. Mike Callow from ESPN Radio. Thank you so much for joining us this Thursday evening, sir. How you doing?
Gentlemen, I am good. Always a pleasure to join you. Happy to be here.
Yes, sir. Let me see that hat, though. I did not peep the hat yet. Oh, there we go, the black.
One of my favorite, the crossover. Just that little bit of kind of old school Caps Wizards.
Oh,
a little bit there.
Nice.
Little bit of old school Caps Wizards. So always my favorite colorway. So I got a million colors of this one.
Dude, that jersey combo was honestly atrocious, but man, those colors were great together, Mike. I will admit that. But that being said, we're facing another blue team this weekend, and the Giants coming to town. And look, you could say a lot about the Giants right now. I think we all can point to the obvious. So let me ask a kind of broad question to you to open this up. What are the keys to beating New York for Washington?
Number one in my head, don't screw up. Don't turn the ball over. Be smart. For everyone that feels good about this game, I totally see why they do. But this is the team that has been the thorn in this franchise's side for I don't even know how many years now. For how many years we should be beating them at home or go up there and beat them. They just somehow find a freaking way to beat us, or in last year's case, tie us when we should have been the better team, better opponent. So I say mistake-free football. Keep it simple this weekend. I would also like to see Eric Bieniemy run the ball. I've been begging for that, though, for I feel like 2 months now. I feel like we all have been doing that, but mistake-free football is the number one thing I could say is going to be the key to beating the Giants this weekend.
Yeah, and if you look up the big cheese on Google in terms of what the definition of that means, it says a person or organization with a lot of influence. So that's the reason why I chose this title. Sorry, Hall.
So going back a couple weeks to the first game up in New York, where they just completely laid an egg, only scored 7 points, where they only gave up 14 points. Usually 99% of the time, you should win that game in the NFL, but here we are. But the offense was horrible, to say the least. What can you learn from the offense this time around going up against this Giants defense, even though it's a bad Giants team right now and they're kind of depleted on both sides of the ball?
I mean, the best part about that is what you just said, depleted. I would even stretch that further to demoralizing. They have acted like a team that just doesn't want to play the last few weeks. And look, we've been there as a franchise a few times over the past decade or decade plus. And I just think having it be a home game, you're still in the hunt, in quotes, means that this team should have a little bit more to play for against this Giants team. And especially the Giants defense has been so terrible. And last week it was like every game break, we saw a touchdown coming from the Cowboys just having their way with that defense. And look, let's be honest here too. Sam Howell's gotten better every single week this year. As far as I'm concerned, he's done something we haven't seen every single week, or he improves on something every single week. I think that's a good combination to go up against a bad defense like the Giants. I feel like Sam Howell is going to keep it rolling here. So that's why I kind of went to mistake-free football. Don't give them any kind of thought, any kind of willpower that they have a chance to win this game. If they don't turn it over, I think they'll be in really good shape against the Giants defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And the crazy thing about the Giants defense, they are top 10 in one category, and that's third down percentage. They're 8th. Everything else, they are 21st and below in defensive categories, which is absolutely amazing. But Washington in red zone and passing yards, they're 11th in the league right now, which is great news. That's progress we've seen throughout the season. And a lot of help came from the running backs last week, Mike. What was your reaction to that? Because to me, that tells me the comfortability aspect between players.
I think I'll go with each running back here separately. Like, I think Robinson, we've seen it all year. I feel like every single show, podcast, blog, everything has been saying run the ball more. And then we see Sam Howell has 47 attempts again, right? And I think we saw that last week where Robinson not only was running the ball great, but then he had a 49 and a 51-yard pass thrown to him by Howell. I think we're just seeing kind of the team try to adapt their play to these running backs. And look, it finally feels like Gibson's hitting his stride here. He's had 3 or 4 really good weeks where he's not the starting running back, but we all know what that guy can do in space. We know when he gets rolling, he is a beast in the open field. And we're seeing it here where they're finally looking at Gibson going, oh, wow, yeah, we can still use you on this offense. We can still use you in a role that we envisioned the entire time. And so I think it's just kind of a matter of finding the weapons. And honestly, let's look at it from last year's perspective. They had too many weapons anyways. You're just going to have certain weeks where some guys don't touch the ball. Last week, though, the running backs were, the tandem to get things done.
And you're absolutely right, Callow, because I was going to piggyback off of what you were saying by bringing it back to last year, because one of the things I said about Eric Bieniemy is needing the adaptive, the kind of attacking style from an offensive coordinator, and having Antonio Gibson attack Bobby Wagner on that out route on the touchdown. I mean, that's a perfect play call by Eric Bieniemy in the attacking style in the red zone, and then the execution by Howell to be able to stand there and throw that ball to him, then AG walking into the end zone. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful.
No, 100%. Yeah. Like I think when it comes to the red zone, that's been their best part of the entire offense all year long. When they get down there, they are so innovative and just almost automatic at this point. I don't knock on wood, but they are so good when they get down there.
Yeah, I agree. And like to your point about AG, like we kind of saw flashes of that in his rookie season where he scored double-digit touchdowns. They were using him in the passing game, the screen game, and for some reason it took 2.5 more years to finally get him back to that role. But glad that he's definitely flourishing right now in that role. But speaking of flourishing, a team that is not flourishing right now is the New England Patriots. And, of course, there's been rumors swirling around for
good job,
everyone kind of – I know, you like that segue, right? But the Bill Belichick rumors are – seems like by the minute there's more just sticks getting thrown into the fire. The smoke's getting bigger and bigger. But what is your opinion on Bill Belichick as the next head coach in Washington? And – me personally, I don't like the idea at all, but I just want to know your opinion.
Sure. I will cheap plug here for ESPN 630. Make sure you listen to Bram's segment on this from today. You have the voice of the team weighing in on this, and it was very interesting. And I will piggyback off what he said, was that basically we don't know what this ownership group wants to do, right? This is probably the first time in our collective lives in 25 years that we don't know what they want to do, right? And so I will unpack this piece by piece with Belichick because I have a lot of different thoughts. I will agree with you, though. Overall, no, I do not want this. I do not want this coach-centric approach where it's him controlling everything and controlling the personnel. Dude, Ron Rivera is already doing that, and it's such a mixed bag that I don't want to do that again. But I think if you unpack a few things about it, maybe there are some things that this could work. Do we know if Harris, because we heard about the Orlovsky, not report, but what he had heard was that it was a done deal. He's going somewhere, right? Did they go to Bill and say, hey, Ron's not going to coach next year? Is Bill coming aboard? And they're going, hey, look how good Howell is with EB. We're going to bring EB back. We just need you to run the defense, and we need you to run the head coaching aspect of it. Does that appeal to Bill? I don't know, because I think that's a legitimate question right now.
Thank you.
Does Bill also just want to be a GM or an executive, or does he just want to be a head coach too? Like, I think that could go either way. Like, does he want to just run a team, or does he want to stay on the coaching field to get that all-time wins record? I think that is really important, by the way. I think he does want to get that all-time wins record, but I could see a pathway where maybe he goes, maybe this has passed me by a little bit. Maybe I do just want to work in a front office. And in that case, I could see the Commanders being an option. I could see the Giants being an option. I think you don't throw away like Tepper and the Panthers because he's a crazy owner. You don't know what he could do. So I have questions on top of the questions when it comes to Bill, and I could see how it could work and how I think people would be a little more receptive of it here in Washington. But if we're talking about the same Bill Belichick structure where he runs the entire roster and is the head coach on both offense and defense and controls both of those aspects, color me worried. I don't want that. I'm good. And I'll do the painful act as well to say we have to look at that stupid graphic every single year of McVay, of now Mike McDaniel, of O'Connell, of LaFleur, and the list goes on. And it's just like, give us one of those guys and a new GM, and I think everyone will be happy. And that's, of course, contingent on all of these guys actually being fired at the end of the year, because that hasn't happened yet either. I think that's something people need to be reminded of. So I know it's a really long explanation of Bill, but I feel like there's lots of layers there that people need to kind of jump into.
Yeah, and I have to apologize to Hall because we were arguing on Twitter yesterday about this Bill Belichick thing, and I said, look, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility he could be looking into DC, but when you said the all-time wins record, I think obviously that is a huge cog into that. I did not know that before, so credit to you, Hall. I agree with you now. Callow has changed my mind. Now, my next question that I have for you, sir. The D-line, Nicky Giabala has tweeted a couple stuff, and they asked Jack Del Rio about it today, and he invited John Keim to come watch film with him, and John Allen and Daron Payne. I know I would love to be. I would have told, if I was John, I would have said, yeah, let's do it. Can we schedule that right now? You know what I mean? But with the D-line, do you share those same kind of thoughts as Nicky Giabala and others, or are you more so on the Jack Del Rio side of things with this?
Oh, absolutely not. Listen to Bram and myself for the last month, 6 weeks. Bram has said it in the nicest way possible because he is the voice of the team, and these are guys that he sees every single day. But he has said, and I agree with him, you can tell me that they're not bad, but they need more. I mean, period. And I didn't think they actually played terrible against the Seahawks, but they're the 2 highest paid defensive players. They are now your anchors in the defensive line. They just need to be better. And the fact that on some plays, not one of them is double teamed and they're both being one-on-one. Like, I don't know. They do need more. I don't know who could disagree with that sentiment. What's been the statement for this defense the last 2-3 years? They go as far as their defensive line goes. Well, now they really need to rely on those 2 guys with both Sweat and Chase being traded out. They need a little bit more from them. This is not to, disparage their leadership or their effort or whatever. They just need more. And I think the more frustrating part for me, though, is with Payne. I was on with you guys after the Broncos game. He took a drive over by himself where he had a batted pass, a tackle, and a sack where it was like, oh, man, they paid him and he's still good. That has fallen by the wayside. They need more. The best part, though, about all of it is Nicky calls them out on a week where they have a really crappy opponent and a really bad offensive line. I expect huge games from both of them coming on Sunday.
Yeah, and you can honestly see why they would drop down a little bit given with all the assets moved out, and it's hard to be able to get double-digit sacks, man. That's why it's incredible Daron Payne was able to do that last year, and so it's hard to be able to keep that up, but I understand what everyone's sentiments are. You do need more, but in my opinion, like when I'm seeing, like they're still getting in their stuff in the run, they're doing what they need to do, getting off blocks. It's hard for a defensive tackle to get after the quarterback. And honestly, they're gauged by the success of the team. If they would have won that game against Seattle, I'm not sure if Nicky would be tweeting it, Mike? Yep.
No, I 100% agree. And I also think so, too. They get a big play or two, though, from one of those guys on those last drives. Yeah. That quiets a lot of the noise. And instead, the defense was a sieve and gave up the game.
Credit to you, Mike.
Yeah, no, it's 100% right. And kind of to piggyback off that, because like you said, the Giants' offensive line is makeshift. They're getting people from the Home Depot right now. They're putting on their offensive line. So the D tackles should be able to just have a monster game this week, this Sunday, and they should be able to eat. Flipping to the offensive side of the ball, it seems like every single week there's a different player on the offense that kind of has that breakout game or kind of is the go-to guy. Who do you think that guy is going to be on the offense this week?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Great
I feel
question.
like they always force the ball to whoever has been like quiet lately. We saw it, I want to say like 3 or 4 weeks ago, where more and more noise was being made about Jahan, and then all of a sudden you just saw Howe targeting him like 10 times, over the course of a game. It was like, oh, okay, so we're gonna go this route. I think you go all reliable here, and it's against an NFC East opponent. He always thrives against them. Give me Terry to this week. I just feel like mistake-free football / do what works, and that's go to that guy in a game you need to have. Just give me Terry. Honorable mention, though, to Logan Thomas. I feel like we haven't heard enough from him. He catches some balls, but not a lot of yards for him lately. Give me like a good day for Terry and maybe a touchdown and like 50 yards for Logan. Those are my 2, but Terry by far number 1 for this weekend.
Yeah, and John Bates, man, has been having a sleeping kind of year, man. He's been doing really, really well. Has been pivotal for this offense in the short yardage game. But now to wrap this up, Mike, only have a couple more questions for you, sir. But the talk has started around Mr. Howell. I know that he needs to play more consistently. And look, the Giants held him to the lowest point total of the season for this offense. This is a big matchup for Sam Howell to kind of show his progression going against Martindale again. So my question to you, this MVP talk, all this other stuff, are you buying into any of this?
in terms of him being, floated out there as MVP. I'm not only because you need to win. And
Yep.
it's funny, he's put the team in the position to win, but they haven't won. And go look at what's happening with Stroud. Stroud is leading them down the field. They're winning at the last second. Doesn't give them the opportunity to even lose the game sometimes. He's right there. He's on the outside looking in terms of really being a legitimate candidate. Bram made a great point on his show yesterday or on Tuesday where he said, I wish there was like a breakout category, because I think then Sam Howell would be like shoe in to win a breakout type category, but he's not a rookie of the year. He's not the best quarterback in the league. I'm not buying the MVP talk, but that's okay. I think we as a fan base are realizing what's happening in front of our eyes, that we know there's something moving forward here if he continues to progress the way we've seen that he progresses. Because I feel like that's the best part about him and watching him this season is I feel like every week he does something that I haven't seen the week before. Like I talked about those 2 Brian Robinson passes where he was running out and then just darted it to him. That was like a combination of everything he's been doing right this season.
Right.
And one of them led to a really long touchdown. So
That's our boy, Mike. That's our boy. Next question I have for you, Jahan Dotson. I know we briefly talked about him a little bit. I talked on the radio earlier this week about getting him more involved early. The one thing you could say about Terry, Mike, is that if Terry wasn't targeted early in that game, I think Terry would still show up for you in those pivotal moments. So if you do have to flip-flop the kind of targets in that aspect, I'd be okay with it. Are you concerned with Jahan Dotson? Because I'm not, dude. I know the kid's a baller.
yeah, I'm not concerned one bit with him. His route running is great. He's a hard worker. He says all the right things too. I'm not worried. I just think Howell has a whole entire cast that he needs to try to fit in.
Right.
Clearly, Bieniemy also has a legitimate script every game too. Like they do things. I feel like this hasn't been talked about enough. They do a lot of things early on in the game that throws off the defenses in the second half of the game, and which is like something we're not used to at all here, right? Like I feel like Scott Turner had a bunch of plays, and then if one got screwed up, they just went like complete AWOL when it came to the offense. So I feel like they're not forcing it to Jahan, mainly because there's a script that they're following. But we've seen it. Jahan's got a few clutch touchdowns this year. He'll be fine. I'm not worried about him one bit.
Yeah, and Mike, and it's funny you say that because, everyone's complaining about them not running the football. But then Pete Carroll sits there and tells you afterwards that it surprised the heck out of us that we ran it 3 straight times and we were successful in doing that, which then made them confused, which is why you don't run the ball a lot in the first half, to Eric Bieniemy's point, because they're not expecting you to do that. So a lot of credit to Eric Bieniemy. His thought process is finally coming through. But to wrap this up real quick, it's like a 1A, 1B. Injury update on anybody, if you have any updates. I know Tyler Larson had a vet day today. Derek Forrest was actually on the field. I don't think he was practicing. Obviously, he still hasn't been activated. That time hasn't come yet. But just give us a quick injury update and the score prediction, MVP.
So I believe he was on the side field. So he was out there. Reporters saw him. And then, yeah, you're right. Larson had a vet day off. Gates stepped into center. I'm cool with that. Like they're going to need Gates to probably step in at some point anyways, just the way the league works. The one thing you got to pay attention to is Gibson was out again today. He hasn't practiced yet this week. So
that
really?
darn toe.
Yeah, so as good of a game as he had on Sunday, it's Thursday and he hasn't practiced. You guys know how this works. If he doesn't get out there tomorrow, he's not going to play. So that's what I'm a little worried about. But I feel like if Antonio Gibson was the reason you were going to beat the Giants, it probably was going to be slim anyway. So I'm not as worried on that one. Score prediction. Oh, man. This offense has been good. And I feel like there's no reason why it shouldn't keep going here lately. And I know there's been some disastrous games, but I feel like they should be pretty comfortable in this one. Give me a 27-17 win. My MVP, I think, let's just go chalk. I will pick Sam Howell for this. I think Howell has a big day passing. I think he runs the ball a little bit. This defense is undisciplined and doesn't really seem like they have much effort. That's where you take advantage of guys where you get a mobile quarterback like Sam, who's just going to take what the defense is going to give him.
Mike, I appreciate you for picking them to win or predicting them to win, because I hope Hall follows suit with you. But them giving up 17 points is still too much for me. They're last in the league in points per game, 11.8 on average, Mike. Giving up 17 to them would be horrendous. But that being said, I can't thank you enough for joining us, brother. It's always a pleasure to be able to talk with you. It's just like talking to an old friend here. We have never even met. Mike, I can't thank you enough. Before we get out of here, just like to plug your social media handle and your show, just in case anybody watching hasn't followed you yet and would like to.
Yeah, 100%. And I always enjoy coming on with you guys. So you can follow me at Mike _Callow And you can follow my station at ESPN 630 DC. Anyone that's out of town, hit up our Twitter. You can find our app, our website. You can listen from anywhere in the world. Check us out there. Of course, I do my show, or I do the Bram Weinstein show, and you know Bram because he calls the games. And as I always say, with especially tomorrow being Friday, our Friday show is fantastic. Bram basically will tell you without telling you what he's feeling around the building and what the game plan is. He talks to Rivera, so can't recommend it enough, especially Friday and Monday to listen to our show on ESPN 630.
Mike, I can't thank you enough, brother. Enjoy the weekend.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it,
buddy. We just talked with the man, Mr. Mike Callow, the ESPN Radio. Always appreciate Mike. I'm being genuine when I say it's always a fun time being able to talk with him. It just seems like a normal conversation, and I always appreciate that about Mike.
Like you said, we've never even met the dude before, but it's kind of just like a free flowing, just like you're talking to one of your boys type of, like about football type of situations or conversations. So definitely a good time when he jumps on.
Yeah, it's just like when Reed, he's out elephant kissing with his boys out in the woods, But no, let's get into our fan questions, boys, to kind of go in ham onto this game this weekend, answer some fan questions, be able to dissect things and how we feel about this football team. Let's get to a question from the Colonel who asked, Hall, given that Sam Howell is in the top 5 quarterbacks statistically, is there any chance he will make the Pro Bowl?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say, I'm not going to say he's going to make it as like a starter because obviously you're going to have Jalen Hurts who'll be the starting quarterback, selected quarterback, I would say. But obviously the quarterbacks that, I'll say Dak's not going to get to the NFC Championship, so he'll be probably a Pro Bowl quarterback. If the Eagles make it, obviously Jalen Hurts, even though he'll be selected, he'll probably be a quarterback. So long story short, I think that if Sam goes to a Pro Bowl this year, I think it'll be as an alternate because either someone opts to not go or someone's playing in like the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl, whatever it might be. So, but yeah, to answer your question, it's like 50-50. I think that if he continues on this pace to end the season out and he's still top 5 in a lot of statistics, then I think that, like I said, he'll be one of the first alternates to get the call.
Man, if Tyler Huntley can go to the Pro Bowl in the AFC,
he was like a 5th alternate though.
Man, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Obviously, Sam Howell's
outperforming. No, you're right.
He's obviously outperforming him. All I'm saying is because it's kind of like fan voting, and so it's kind of with injuries and all that. Guys could say no to it and all other jazz. So without a doubt, Colonel, that Sam Howell deserves to be in this Pro Bowl. I'm going to be honest with you. Just the way that he's playing. Look, he doesn't have to get into the MVP talk, but we need to start acknowledging the fact that this kid is playing at a point that we have never seen before here, and this is an uncharted territory because he's playing like somebody who should be in that Pro Bowl. And I'm being perfectly honest with you. I don't usually see this of a quarterback here. Usually I'm fluffing them up, trying to tell you guys are not as bad as they are. At this point, I don't need to. Like, he's doing it himself, but it's a big test for him this weekend. And I think that beating the Giants is going to be very crucial for him moving forward. Because, it's funny because I saw somebody had commented, a Cowboys fan, that like Sam Howell's not going to do that against us, talking about the Cowboys. Like, dude, where were you last year? Like week 18, bro.
I will say, though, to kind of add on to that point, obviously Washington, we don't get the national televised games like that because, we're one of those teams that has been down to the dumps.
After the way we played Thursday Night Football against the Bears, I don't think we deserve it.
And that's my point. It's kind of like when we do get the opportunity, we do Washington things. But I will say Thanksgiving, obviously that's the only game on the 4 o'clock spot. Everyone, that's like the highest tuned in game of the whole Thanksgiving slate is that middle game, which is going to be us. So if he wants to bolster the people that are voting for the Pro Bowl, he's on the national stage against a team that is America's team and, is going to have all eyes on him. So I definitely think that him playing well against Dallas on Thanksgiving will go a long, long way. It's not only national recognition, but like you said, Pro Bowl voting as well.
Yeah, and there's still a little bit of situational awareness with Sam. But that being said, I'm not going to criticize the kid too much. The fumble is one of those situations of the situational awareness, right? And I understand he had that 3rd and 23, and he has that mindset and I respect the heck out of him about it. That's why I haven't killed him for it or anything. It's just that kind of situational awareness does need to get a little bit better. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is this team getting better and progressing. Look, we could talk all day about Sam Howell being, Pro Bowl quarterback and all that jazz. Doesn't help anybody. Yeah, great, you're in the Pro Bowl, but your team is in the basement. It doesn't really help.
To your point also, Sam, they just asked Sam about that I guess it was yesterday when he was doing his little presser to the media, whatever.
I loved
His
his
weekly.
response, dude. I
Love
loved
this.
his response.
I don't care, to paraphrase, I don't care about like all the accolades and national recognition because we're not winning games, and all I want to do is win.
That's my
And
quarterback.
that's my quarterback, man. And look, people. I think people like didn't realize that like Sam was going to be like as far as like off the field stuff and how he handles himself. The dude was the son of a coach. Like his dad, I think, is still coaching down in North Carolina high school football.
He is.
So you should have known that off the field, like and the person that he is and the competitor was already going to be there. It was just about the on the field play, and it looks like he's living up to the bill so far.
Yeah, seriously. And I loved how Eric Bieniemy kind of talked about his demeanor. You never see him getting too high or too low, and that's exactly what you need. I've called him John Wick for a while, like wanting to see him turn into John Wick, and growing a lot faster than I thought he would. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I've only seen him really celebrate like 3-4 times on a touchdown, and
that was the one rushing touchdown he had in like what, week 1?
and then it was the Logan touchdown where he caught the diving pass and got crushed by the Denver player. The Jahan tying Philly up in Philly touchdown, and then that throw to Diami, that dart to Diami. That man was jumping like Air Jordan down the field, like woo, woo. So, like you said, he's even killed, but when he's up, he's definitely up.
Yeah, he definitely should have celebrated that. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Top 5 throw of the year right there.
Dude, I mean, I've only seen that throw in real life a handful of times. And whenever it does happen, it's insane because you have to imagine, you have to put yourself on the field. Sam Howell's not taller than everybody else. So all he sees is flashes of color, right? And so what he's seeing is the flash of color coming into that point. And so what he's saying to himself, even though I see other colors converging on it, I'm putting this ball flat-footed. I'm just going to sling it up top and hopefully he comes down with it. And that's exactly what he did. And it just shows the control and the anticipation, the control of where he is right now, and it's really freaking exciting because when you
also
can make a throw
shows you
like
that he's getting more comfortable with the offense, where it's like I'm gonna throw it to a spot where I know my guy's gonna be at, as opposed to like, oh, let me just wait till he gets like college open or like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just gonna throw it to a window where I know he's gonna be at based off my progression and my timing and my footwork, and bang bang.
That's a great point by you because I showed that Antonio Gibson touchdown on Twitter, and specifically Sam Howell has a rusher coming into his face from Wiley's side, literally in his face, and he just floats the ball to the sideline, only where Antonio Gibson could get it. You know, it was kind of a duck, but it was because of the rusher, but he put it in a spot that only AG could get it, and he still had time to turn around and walk in the end zone. The kid, look, we don't need to pump his head up too much, okay? We still, I know I said I needed to wait until we won the Super Bowl, but I talk a lot of crap, dude. I'm in, dude. Now the next question from the Colonel Hall: the Commanders have given up 12 touchdowns to teams scoring from outside the red zone. That's the most in the NFL by 4 touchdowns. How the hell does Jack Del Rio still have a job?
I know a lot of people have been calling for his head for many, many weeks now and want Rivera fired. Look, I get it. The defense has underperformed by a huge, huge margin this year. A lot of it, you could say, is scheme. A lot of it is the big plays, which goes into the scheme as well. So I keep asking people this. Look, if it was up to me, would I care if he gets fired or not? No. Like, it is what it is. He deserves to get fired for this horrible defense that's put out there this year. But with that being said, what does firing him right now do for anything? Like, it's still going to be the same defensive players on the field. Like, yeah, the new defensive coordinator might call, like, be a little bit more aggressive or might call blitzes here and there, might change up things a little bit. But for the most part, they're going to still run the same scheme that Jack Del Rio's been running. They're not going to just all of a sudden implement a whole new defense 11 weeks into the season, 12 weeks into the season. So, like, yes, like I've never been a person like fire somebody just for the sake of firing them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what does it do in the long run? He's going to get fired at the end of the season. What's the difference between week 11, week 12, or week 18? So that's my whole point. Like,
people would argue that if you want to win, you have to fire Del Rio. But to your point, they have shown the ability to win, even with
my point would be, look at Josh Harris's track record. He's already pretty much showed his hand by trading away Montez Sweat and Chase Young. Look at the track record with the 76ers and the Devils. I'm not going to say he like breaks it all the way down. Well, he did in Philly, but he's all about draft picks and the analytics side of like drafting like players and multiple bites of the apple per se, as opposed to like So that's my whole point, where it's like Josh Harris may not want to fire him because he's like, hey, the defense is kind of losing us games. That's going to elevate my draft status. That gives me a little bit more bites at the apple as far as like getting premier players to come in next year and possibly help out this defense. So that's my only point. Should he be fired? Probably yes. Well, not even probably yes. He should be fired, but I would just wait till week 18 at this point because, or even after the bye week, because again, you don't want to put them in a disadvantage going into a short week against Dallas, a divisional opponent. I mean, yeah. So that's look. They lose to the Giants, definitely fire him, but I don't see that happening.
I was thinking
I
about
was all
this.
over the place with that. I'm sorry.
I know you're good. I was thinking about this the other day, Colonel. Look, man, I got 4 words for you: Joe Barry and Jim Haslett. I had a Facebook memory pop up today, actually, from 2014 of me saying I've been asking for 4 years for Jim Haslett to be fired. When will that day come? Look, I know Jack is not doing the greatest of jobs right now. And you look, I'm not going to say it because I don't know how he is in the building. The personnel, the personal coaches, they need to do a better job of getting their guys up to speed and ready to go, right? The fact is, they haven't won games. They're not successful. They're the 31st in the NFL in points per game. They're 16th in red zone percentage and third down percentage. They're 14th in red zone conversion percentage. They're 29th in passing yards. They're 21st in rushing yards, and they're 17th in sacks. There is nothing that they can really hang their hat on at the moment besides Cameron Curl. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. That last drive, I thought Cam Curl should have been on DK Metcalf. I don't care if he's a safety. He was the best one guarding DK Metcalf the entire day. And look, I know Benjamin St. Juste did a good job on the ball, and same with Percy Butler, but Cam does a good job against those guys. And that sort of mistakes and devil's in the details, right? And hindsight's 2020, but you just got to win the games, man. And that's the biggest probably. We talked about before the season, Colonel, that that we don't live in a perfect world, and something unexpected was going to happen to us. Generally, typically, it's injuries, offensive line, other stuff like that. We were not expecting this big of a step back from the defense, to your credit, but I think that Jack Del Rio needs to get this fixed immediately if he wants to have anything in the offseason, if that makes sense. Like a future, so to speak, because
I think just like based off of like his name and like his status in the league over the years, like I mean, if he wants to, he'll get a job coaching as whether it's, I'm not gonna say he's gonna be a defensive coordinator somewhere because if you look at the numbers, no person's gonna be like, hey, come be my DC. But I'm sure he'll be like a linebackers coach or he'll go down to a position coach for a year or two. And if he wants to be a defensive coordinator a year or two from now, he'll probably get that opportunity again. But yeah, like I said, I've never been someone that's like, hey, just fire him for the sake of firing him when the fact of firing him is not really going to solve any of the issues going on with the defense right now.
they need to
That's my whole
execute.
point.
They just need to execute better communication all around. This was submitted in our Discord. Orange Crush put this in. I want to just say this real quick. ESPN says that Washington's pass rush win rate overall has actually gone up the last 2 weeks since Sweat and Young left. Been tracking the numbers through the weeks, and we were down at like 36.5% weeks 5 and 6, and meow, we were up to 40% weeks 9 and 10. He doesn't know if that's because we faced harder O-lines or what, but although in the grand scheme it's a crap sandwich, it's just nice to see minor improvement. But it runs contrary to what everyone has basically been saying, that our pass rush has lacked ever since Sweat and Young left. And I would more so say that maybe, to OC's point, maybe that's the offensive lines that we are facing. But that's going to be a big test this weekend because Casey Tuhill and others are going to have to go to town on this offensive line and on the Italian Zach Wilson. Now let's go to our Discord. This is from Scott Hartley in the UK. Oi!
Boy,
Thank you, Scott. He asks, what has
Scotty.
to go right to make this team consistent? We've been giving up far too many plays on defense. It can't just be on coaches, can it?
Yeah, I think you kind of answered your own question. The defense has to stop giving up the explosive plays. If you've like, obviously, you've watched the defense throughout the years that Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio have been here. The first 4, 5, 6 weeks, they're giving up big plays. They're giving up points galore, and then they kind of course correct and they get everything bottled up. You see more explosive plays. They get a better grip on handling the run game. They're pretty efficient in the passing game. third downs were pretty good last year. So I think that the only thing that can really be corrected right now, hopefully, is the explosive plays. And I think that is the pretty much the major downfall of this entire defense. They've always been a bend but don't break defense because I think, like we talked about, Jack Del Rio is kind of the cover three, like shell kind of guy where it'll keep everything in front of you, and eventually, more than times than not, most offenses are going to have a penalty. They're going to have some type of turnover or something like that. It's hard to drive 7, 8, 9, 10 plus plays in the NFL consistently. So you're banking on the other team kind of messing themselves up offensively and just keep everything in front of you. Unfortunately,
It's kind of how Floyd Mayweather boxes.
exactly. So unfortunately, like you said, this year they've given up 12 explosive plays, which is by far the most by any other team. And like I said, that's kind of been the downfall of the team. I mean, look at the Seattle game. They don't give up that explosive play to Kenneth Walker. They make a tackle in the open field. It's a different ball game. You can go to the DJ Moore a couple times against the Chicago Bears on Thursday night. Like you can just go game by game by game, and there's one or two explosive plays in that game where I'm not going to say it ends up being the difference in the game, but it's definitely a momentum swinger and a big difference, which results in a loss for the team. So
Yes, and what I meant by the Floyd Mayweather comment, basically, the way that Floyd Mayweather does his stuff is that he doesn't allow you to hit him, right? And it's not like he's coming at you just trying to do everything possible. He's not going to Mike Tyson you by any stretch. But what he's trying to do is tire you out. Get you tired so that he can get better shots on you, so that to the point where you get angry and you allow yourself to get up trying to make something happen. That's how this defense is based. They sit in that cover three zone, they force you to go short, get you frustrated that you're not getting the points that you want, and forcing something in where and then it gets picked off or a turnover happens like you talked about the penalty. But the issue has been in the past couple of years is turnovers haven't been happening. The pass rush hasn't been happening from the edges, right? And so you need the kind of tenacious defensive line to be able to cause chaos up front for that defense to really be on top. And secondly, you need to be a tackling team. And we saw in that Kenneth Walker pass, horrible tackling. And so with this defense, when they have bad tackling, they're not going to do well. And we've seen that.
Perfect example, I would say, and I said this on Twitter. Just look at what Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin are doing.
Right.
That offense with Kenny Pickett is doo doo, but that defense is
That's
a
what
bend
we
but
were
don't
supposed to
break.
be doing.
Exactly. That defense is bend but don't break. T.J. Watt and Hy Smith and everyone else get after the quarterback, and if they don't get after the quarterback, they cause turnovers, and that's what it's all about. Like you can give us as many yards as you want to. You can give up 500 yards to an offense, but if you get 2 or 3 turnovers, that offense is probably not scoring many points. And like you said, to your point, the whole reason behind drafting Emmanuel Forbes and Quan Martin and these guys was we need to get more turnovers. We need to get more turnovers and let the front four do their thing. The front four has not done their thing. They have not gotten turnovers. That's resulted in a lot of explosive plays, missed tackles, miscommunications, and here we are, one of the worst defenses in the league because of that.
You are correct, sir. You are correct. Now let's move on to our next question to the Discord. This is from Tim Towner. Last week, Dallas put up 640 yards on the New York Giants. In the 3 games since we played the New York Giants, our O has started to click. Take a shot at predicting how we will fare this time around. At last time we played, they held us to 7 points on 249 yards and 6 sacks.
I'm just going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say there won't be 6 sacks this time. I would say that I'm not going to say we're going to put up 600 to something yards of offense because that's like ridiculous. But I'll say that they shouldn't have any more than I'll give it 2.5. It should be under 2.5 sacks is what I'll say, and they should probably score somewhere. If they don't score somewhere between 20 to 30 plus points, I will be highly upset, and it will be, in my opinion, a failure of a Sunday, even if they win the game or not.
All right, you want me to give you my prediction? All right, they're going to have 1 sack on our offensive line, and that's going to be Kayvon Thibodeau, so he could go hype himself up on Twitter.
He might not even play because he's in concussion protocol.
Well, what is he going to do without his whole sack for the year, dude? What is he going to do now? How is he going to talk crap all off season long to former players and stuff? I don't know how he's going to do it. And then with the point total, I do think the point total is going to go up, and I do hope that possibly the defense helps with that. I think the 27 points by Callow was perfect. Vegas right now has Washington as 9-point favorites heading into this football game, which is not something we are typically used to.
That's crazy. It opened at 10.5, so that means that A lot of people are putting money on the Giants to cover, which means that they don't got a lot of faith in Washington to come out here and actually handle business this week. So we'll see.
I mean, can you really blame them? At what point in
No,
time?
I mean, look,
Like,
I get it.
no,
That actually
I'm
helps
not
me
hating
out.
on you. I'm
No, no,
just
I'm
saying.
just saying that helps me out in the betting world because 10.5 to me, I was like, that's kind of a lot. But
Wouldn't
9
you
points, I'm like,
say?
oh, they can beat them by 10.
Wouldn't you say 10.5 points would be a comfortable win? And how
Oh,
many
yeah. Yeah.
comfortable wins have we had this year?
That's
So
actually a good point. That's a good
credit
point.
to Vegas for seeing ahead, and I understand that, but I think it's time for one. If we're being perfectly honest with you, if you really want to be a playoff team, this is kind of how you put your foot on the throat because Dallas is not that good. You can replicate this and what they did. You just have to be able to execute it, and I think this team is ready to go for it. Now, the next question, this one is from Arch Deluxe. Bear with me on this one. Did a deep dive into analytics, both historical trends and projections of front offices, structure, and coaching staffs. Screw all that. How bleeping excited are you all about Sam Howell? Seriously, I don't buy QB jerseys. Never have. That changes now, he says.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't really. I mean, I've bought one QB jersey over probably my entire lifetime that I can really think about it. Maybe I was probably one, but it was RG3, and that was his rookie year. And obviously, there was a lot of promise, a lot of hope back then, and we all know how that turned out. But yeah, I mean, I've always been the one that like I'm not going to buy your jersey unless I know you're going to be here for a while. And I mean, I got AG because that was my guy coming out of college, but I mean, I got Dotson. I thought that he would definitely be a guy that should earn a second contract here, and I think possibly he will down the line. But I will say, this might be next year might be the year where I finally go out and buy me a quarterback jersey because I don't want to have to be in the I got to go out every 2-3 years and buy this jersey for the quarterback and this jersey and this jersey. I just want to buy one, maybe possibly two, and I think Sam Howell might be that one.
This is a great test for your memory, sir. I believe that T-Mac had asked us a question in preseason saying this time next year, who will be the highest selling jersey for the Commanders? What did I say, Hall?
I'm going to assume he probably said Sam Howell.
Sam Howell, and that is absolutely right, and that means that's a great thing, and I agree with you, sir. I think that you should go buy that Sam Howell jersey. I think you should get it in the best freaking jersey you want possible and strut it. I will not, and the only reason I will not is not because I don't like Sam Howell. I don't believe in Sam Howell or
You're a
anything like
hater.
that.
You're a hater.
I don't believe in myself because every time I get a damn jersey of one of these dudes, they're gone. I mean,
Bruh,
I wore
I'm
the
not gonna
Chase.
lie.
I wore the Chase Young jersey the game before he gets traded, the day after. You know what I mean? So it's like no more.
So the jerseys I do have, I bought the RG3 jersey back his rookie year. You already know how that turned out.
Yeah.
Horrible. I got the AG jersey after his rookie year, or I got it his rookie year. He had the fumbling issue going into his second year, and now he's been upseated by Brian Robinson. Probably won't be here for a second contract. Bought the Jahan Johnson jersey last year because I was like, he's about to be that one.
He was the
Ball,
one though.
yeah,
He
and
still
then
is.
now and he still is, but like the second year curse of me buying the jersey of the player has struck again. So maybe I shouldn't buy a Sam Howell jersey. I take that back.
Good job. That's wisdom right there. You know, that's exactly what that is. Now the next
You got to
question.
know yourself.
The next question is from Arch. This is a fantastic question. If Jack Del Rio's defenses are vanilla and predictable, why are there so many miscommunications and mistakes? Is it complicated to learn yet simple to diagnose? Seems like an oxymoron to me, he says. It's a good question.
That is a good question. So I'm going to try to paraphrase it. It was a couple weeks ago. I was listening to Jonathan Allen on the Junkies, and they were pretty much one of them asked pretty much almost the same question, like, why is the defense giving up so many explosive plays? Why is like the secondary blah 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 blah? And the best way that I can paraphrase what Jonathan Allen said is there's so much things and so many things that go into the pre-snap of like communication on the back end as far as like, hey, we got trips right, we got trips left, we got single high, we got this, we got that. Hey, if they cross, make sure we're doing this. If they do this, make sure you're doing that. And then after the snap, you got to be like communicating as well. Like, hey, like if this guy releases this way, you take him. If he releases this way, take him this way. And there's so many different like coverage that goes into like if they run this route concept, you got to play this type of defense. If they run this type of you're guessing like if they're going to run this type of route combination, play this type of coverage, like this type of leverage. So basically, long story short, should it be happening once or twice every couple of weeks? Okay, cool. That's NFL football. It happens. Teams get beat. Consistently, week in and week out, no matter who the team is, no matter who the offense is, I would say, and I don't know. Honestly, I'm trying to explain it because now I'm thinking like, well, damn, Cam Curl's been here for a while. Benjamin St. Jude's been here a couple of years. Fuller's been here a couple of years in the same system. Why are y'all still giving up to all these explosive plays? Only thing I'll say is on defense, the front end, the front four, the rush has to work with the back end. If you're not getting any pressure on the quarterback, it's hard as hell to cover somebody for 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, you know? So that's the best way I can really think of. There's no pass rush. They got to cover more on the back end. Guys get open, slip open.
Yep.
Now you got to explosive play.
Yes, and this is a fantastic question. No, it is very complicated to learn. Like, think about this in a Madden way, everybody. Have you ever played the Madden computer in all Madden? Like, and you're on defense. It is incredibly hard to be able to stop the all Madden offense. It really is. If you play zone, they hit you in their zone bubbles, and then they bleed you down the field. If you play man, they beat you over the top with play action. They find that or do whatever have you. This match defense that they do helps you, allows you to play that zone, but it doesn't give them those short little bubbles because it allows the DBs to kind of flow with wherever it is into their zone. So it is very hard and complicated to learn based on what Hall just said. On the route concepts, you have different assignments to do based on if a guy crosses your face, if he goes outside, you know, there's so much that goes into it. But the issue is that the way that they're playing it, they're very heavily dependent on good coverage, communication, and pass rush. And there's usually one of those reasons is the reason for the big play. And the problem is that you're playing that whack-a-mole thing where you hit one down, then another one pops up. You hit that one down, another one pops up. And there just seems to be that constant coming in there. And the one constant that you can come back to say it's execution, it's the communication, and it's coaching. Just being able to pummel those details into those guys. Because look at Sam Howell. Sam Howell, the way he looked 2 months ago, is completely different than where he looks today. You see the progress in him. The coaching is getting into him. With the secondary, you're still seeing those huge plays come out and the missed tackles and everything. There just seems to be something wrong, and I think it's more so of just getting the guys on page and just attentive to detail at this current moment. I think Chris Harris losing him was a really big thing for this team. Now let's move to Twitter for our next fan questions before we do our predictions for this show. This is from Tim Meek. If they get pressure and contain the turnover, then the turnovers will come. Seattle is very beatable. Oh, no, my bad. That was last week. Once again, the name change debate returns thanks to a dated odds list that included names like Magic/Magicians with 10-1 odds. This is from Hercules, by the way. Appreciate you, dude. Can you confidently say that the new owners are not emotionally concerned about the name as social media?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've already came out there. They said in the offseason that it was like they heard the voice of the fans, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But that's down the list on things of like importance of the priority list or whatever you want to call it. Are they going to end up changing the name at some point? More than likely, I wouldn't be surprised, basically. But like we've talked about many times, I don't care what they're called. I just want to win games. I just want to see a competent football team on the field. I want to see a consistent winning team on the field. And like I said before, if they would have came into this season, they would have handled business. If they were 6-4 right now, possibly even 7-3 if they still won in Philly between one of those two games. You think people would be really complaining and talking about, oh, the name Commanders, blah, 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 blah. No, people would be like, man, the Commanders, we're doing good this year. There's hope. We got Sam Howell. We got this, blah, 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 blah. It's because they're losing. It's because, just like look at the Bills. They fired Ken Dorsey. Their offense was top 5 in a lot of statistical categories. They just did it because of fan outrage, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
I'm sure it's not just that.
I said I had to say this. Yeah, but I'll say this. Long story short, if they were winning games, they would be talking about other stuff as far as like Sam Howell, the offense, the future of the franchise, or such a good place, and blah, 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 blah. Since they're losing, they're slowly slipping out of that playoff hunt. And so they got to figure out things to talk about. And when you're losing, all the negative backstory, back channel stuff comes out. When you're winning, all that stuff gets pushed to the side because you're focused on winning.
Yeah, honestly, Hercules, like I would rather go to the MVA. You know, I would rather go. I'd rather go stand in the media and with a poster saying I'm an idiot than talk about this. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. Look, you know I love you, Herc. You know I know you that you love this sort of thing, and it's just honestly I'm so tired of it. I am so freaking tired of it, man. Out of all the things that are just non-valuable to what happens on the field. I do not care. I am a football fan, and I'm a Commanders fan, and I'll be a Redskins fan. I'll be whatever fan they frickin' name that they choose. I really do not care. I'd rather do something else with my time. But that being said, I am not confident to say that the new owners are not emotionally concerned about the name of social media. I wish I could be able to tell you that we're never going to hear about this issue ever again. I wish I could. I can't. I don't know what they want. I don't know what their vision is. I don't know why they bought this team. We don't know. I don't know specifically. Maybe you guys do. You could educate me, but I'm not in the business of predicting what owners want to do here. I've kind of lost that battle before. I'm not getting into it again.
Yeah.
Let's do our score predictions, man, and MVP. Yeah. Are you actually going to pull the trigger? You're going to pick them win?
I mean, how could I not? Like, they're facing literally dudes that got picked up off our flag football team a couple weeks ago to go play for the Giants. I mean, look, if they lose to this version of the New York Football Giants, look, a couple weeks ago, Tyrod Taylor was a veteran quarterback. Wink Martindale is a pretty aggressive, pretty good defensive coordinator. The offensive line at that point was in shambles. Speaking about communication, there was no communication up front as far as like the offensive line goes.
I mean, there was communication, which is the wrong.
It was just the wrong communication. That's you're right. You're right. So you saw that was the end result of that. The communication up front has gotten better. Shout out to Tyler Larson. The blocking has gotten better. Sam has gotten more comfortable and better in the pocket as far as like getting rid of the football. EB's gotten more comfortable knowing what Sam Howell likes and what he doesn't like. So I do think that, and even like their offense, like Saquon's a little bit banged up. Daniel Jones, White Michael Vick is not going against us this week. They got
Don't ever
Danny
say
DeVito.
that ever again. You got anybody who has ever claimed that Daniel Jones is the White Michael Vick needs to be taken around back and shot.
No. He's White Michael Vick when he plays us. That's only it. But look, long story short, if they lose to this version of the Giants, if they don't score at least 21 plus points on this version of the Giants, they don't put up 300 plus yards of offense on this version of the Giants, I will be highly upset. Heads need to roll, and I will be a fire him because of you need to, for the sake of firing him, you need to fire somebody. But that being said, they're going to win this game. I think you said it's down to like 9-point spread. I got them winning by, I'll say the score is, I'll go. See, we should put up mad points against them because this is us. I'll say it'll be 24-10.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Damn.
You going to say the same thing?
Yeah, dude, I really was. Good job. Because I didn't want to pick Mike Callow's 27. I think that's a good, obviously I love that number, but I think that's a good meter for where we are. Like, I would love to be able to say we're going to put up 40. You know, it's going to be 40-3. I would love to be able to confidently sit here and say that, but I can't. But right now, Washington, they're 17th of points per game, averaging 21.7 per game. Third down percentage, 21st. 11th in red zone percentage and passing yards. 28th in rushing yards and 31st in sacks. That being said, the Giants are 32nd in sacks on offense. For me, I think that this is a team where they're going to have to come, if they come in with the effort, the motivation, the attacking style, wanting to inflict their will, being pissed off with what has happened to them playing the Giants, going back to last year where the referees had to save them for a tie. Now, we should have easily won that game. I mean, no freaking doubt about it, but the referees saved their ass.
Yep.
Last time, that kind of got in our way. We kind of allowed them to do that. There was no reason that we should have lost that football game offensively. You guys can blame Jack Del Rio you want, but that game, they did their job. Offense did not. This is a big test for the offense. It is time to go. This is a divisional opponent. I don't like losing divisional opponents. You're 0-3 in the division right now. Get the damn dub. I think that they will. 30-6 is what I say. Washington wins. And the MVP is going to be Logan Thomas. If Mike didn't want to pick him, I'll pick him.
Yeah, I was going to say my MVP, I'm not gonna go Sam because that's the easy one.
Yeah, you're not allowed to pick Sam.
Yeah, I do think that this is going to be a big Terry game. I think that he's the giant killer. I think he finally gets over people complaining he doesn't have over 100 yards. Blah, blah, blah. He'll get over 100 yards. What did B-Rob have last week? Like 109 or something like that?
116.
I'll go. Terry will have the season high for receiving yards based off this game. I think he goes for one. I'll give him 122 and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin, MVP.
One of my keys to the game, I'm going to put it on Twitter on Sunday. I'll give you one of them, but it's going to be the running backs in pass pro. Obviously, Martindale likes to send a lot of pressure, and he knows that it was effective last time against this offense. So those running backs are going to be in there a lot, blocking a lot. I'm sure John Bates is going to be on the field as well. So we're going to have to block our asses off on Sundays, be ready to meet that train when it comes to the tunnel. And I'm sure there are guys will be ready for it. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And I don't know what happened to Reed. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm still trying to figure that out, but we'll get an answer for you guys.
He ghosted us again.
I know. He's always ghosting us, man. It's always he's an A-lister, though. I think we just have to go with it.
That's true. That's true.
You know,
that's true. He has to make time for us. We don't have to make time for him.
Exactly. All right, everybody. We will see you again on Monday. Enjoy the weekend. Have a great one. Hopefully we get the dub. Say a prayer before the game. Do whatever you need to. We need to get this W, man. Let's head to 5-6 and being able to charge back a little bit because everyone's talking too much. I was complaining too much on Monday before watching the All-22 when I was talking about the crap. Jamin Davis did a good job. I don't know what the heck I was talking about. I was flustered. I was mad. I don't want to be that way on Monday. Let's get the dub this weekend, boys, and get the job done.
If they lose this game on Sunday, Jack Del Rio, Ron Rivera, whoever else has a horrible coaching day and a horrible coaching time during that Sunday at 1 o'clock too. Find your own way back to Ashburn. Call an Uber. Call a family member. Call a rideshare. Take the helicopter. I don't know. But you ain't getting back on that bus from Landover going back to Virginia if y'all lose this game. Find your own way home. Deuces.
That's a great one. Really great one. But you never know, though, Hall. I mean, they could literally – like, wasn't the refs against the Seattle – wasn't that the reffing crew that was the reffing crew for the Giants game at home last year?
I don't even remember who the referees were this week.
Because I'm pretty sure it's the Italian-looking shorter guy that kind of looks like a cousin of Eric Mangini. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That guy. And if that's so whenever we get that crew, boys, just go into it ready saying the opposing team's going to get a bunch of first downs for penalties, and we got to fight against it. And you just got to go into that mindset.
I hope we don't have another 14-7 type of punt fest because that would just be like the most boring Sunday. Can I just have a fun Sunday where like my team actually like blows a team out? Like, you know, like the other 31 teams are like they have one fun Sunday every season. Why can't we have a fun Sunday? Like, Jesus Christ.
I don't know, man. I ask myself that question every day. Oh. All right, everybody.
That's my last rant. No
all
more
right,
rants.
Buddy. We'll see you on Monday. Hopefully it's a victory Monday that we all enjoy. We'll see you then. All right, everybody. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.